chat video games, one of the most universally enjoyed art forms across all ages. And given the huge popularity and culture dedicated to them, it's no wonder executives would want to make a cartoon around them. While in concept, a cartoon about a video game sounds like a great idea, many of them end up being vendor trash in your local bargain bin, feeling soulless and completely unnecessary. But occasionally, these cartoons can be really good fun, and it can feel great to see our video game heroes on the cartoon screen. So let's check out the top 5 best and worst video game cartoons. And as always, keep in mind, these are just my silly personal opinions, so take this list with a pinch of salt. Anyway, on to the countdown. The 5th worst video game cartoon is...
Hey, paisanos! It's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
Oh, we know it's bad, but that doesn't still make it enjoyably bad. The live action parts are interesting, the guest celebrities they get on that they can afford are fun. There's even an episode where they have Inspector Gadget on, and it's always welcomingly cheesy to see these live action actors doing the Mario.
Swing your arms from side to side, come on, it's time to go, do the Mario!
In a modern Mario, I'd honestly have loved to see Charles Martinet doing this role. Can you imagine Martinet doing the Mario?
It's-a me, Mario! Woohoo!
And every episode has the same basic story. Evil King Koopa, aka Bowser, wreaks havoc in various worlds of the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's up to Mario, Luigi, Toad, and the princess, when she isn't kidnapped, to spoil his nefarious plans. Rinse, lather, repeat. The animation is cheesy and barely a step up from the CDI games.
I hope she made lots of spaghetti.
Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh. The voice acting's cheesily bad.
On guard, Hardshell! I'm gonna make linguine out of you!
I'd like to see you try it, Meatball!
Take the plunge, Koopa!
The animation's as dodgy as it gets, but you know, it's still fun. It's so memorably bad that I still vividly remember this series from when I was a kid. It's a weak cash-in, but it's silly and it's fun. It's bad and lazy, but it is enjoyably bad.
Till next time, everybody, do the Mario!
The 5th best video game cartoon is... Kirby, right back at ya. What a weird surprise to see this even existed. A really nice surprise though. Kirby's awesome. Hell, Kirby's Smash Ultimate Cinematic gave me goosebumps, it was so good. And lucky for us, Kirby Right Back At You was made in-house by Nintendo and HAL Laboratories to make absolutely sure that Kirby's TV debut wasn't a rancid garbage pile. However, you're probably saying, but Josh, if it's in such good hands, why is it so early on the list? This sounds great. Well, not even Nintendo could save it from the villainous hands of 4Kids. You see, Kirby Right Back At You was unlucky enough to have face-landed in their devious lair. But surprisingly, they gave it one hell of a kicker intro song. Just listen to this.
Kirby, 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 that's the name you should know. Kirby, 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 he's the star of the show. He's more than you think, he's got maximum pink. Kirby, Kirby, Kirby's the one.
Unsurprisingly, they gave it the most hilariously terrible dub I've heard from them since One Piece. We just don't get as charmingly bad dubs nowadays as good old 4Kids.
His Highness sounds as frightened as a tree at a termite party.
Like, King Dede's voice and his henchmen are just wonderful to listen to.
Well, does this make me look official?
That's perfect, sire. Hold it right there.
It's like I'm listening to some bad 90s kid-friendly rap artist. It's just wonderful. In the cartoon, Kirby has made the simple, quaint dream of becoming the protector of the universe. And as usual, he approaches it with his usual cutesy, wide-eyed charm that we appreciate him for. Another interesting thing is Kirby never actually speaks in this show. He communicates through a universal language. It's a sort of monster of the week type show with an overarching plot. The CGI is a bit out of date for today's standards, but it's still leagues better than Megaman Fully Charged. Overall, this was a solid cartoon series for Kirby, and I'm glad I saw it. And the 4th worst video game cartoon is... Rabbids Invasion. This show is just awful. I can assure you, this is one of the most annoying shows on the list. The animation does hold up, but it just means we get to watch these vexing minion rip-offs just shaking their rears on our TVs. Just by being the rabbits, they'll have the occasional fun antic, but it tends to just be overwhelmingly annoying. every episode is formulaic and just mindless. Most of the jokes just seem to be the writers throwing up their hands and saying, let's see how random we can get. There really is nothing else to say with it, it's so simple. I personally think kids deserve higher quality shows than this. And the fourth best video game cartoon is Sonic the Hedgehog. As some people probably know, I freaking love Sonic, and I'll take any excuse to talk about it. And here's one of them. The show also goes by the fan name Sonic SatAM, so people don't confuse it with the other, not so good Sonic cartoon series. Bad, in fact, but interesting.
Admission is free.
Would you believe this was actually produced by Deke Animation? But the thing is, you'd never tell. It's really, really good, with a far more epic, sophisticated, and dark story, depicting a world where Robotnik's basically won, and Sonic's just one of a handful of freedom fighters trying to annoy him and turn off his power.
We need to shut down his backup generator too.
Maybe there isn't a backup.
You will never see a more menacing take on Dr. Robotnik than this. And that menacing nature makes one of the most engaging cartoon narratives I can remember. There's an interesting message about nature conquering technology, along with a really memorable cast of freedom fighters. Hell, Sally was so memorable she still has a following. I had kind of a child crush on Bunny Rabbit, actually. She was just lovely.
But I still have something a robot will never have. A mind and a heart of my own.
Feel free to check out my worst cartoon endings if you're curious about the show's sad cancellation.
You were really great today.
Thanks. What about yesterday?
And the third worst video game cartoon is Donkey Kong Country. And oh boy, this show will make you go bananas. This animated series is very loosely based on the Donkey Kong Country game, and it's honestly one of the most bizarre and strange experiences I've ever experienced through a cartoon.
If you want a thrill, try our coconut chill.
Just the CGI motion capture itself is really strange looking to today's standards. But again, I can't hate it because I can't help but crack up whenever I see it. I mean, just look at these characters. You can't take these goofy characters seriously. Somehow going from games to TV, we've gone from a silent Donkey Kong to a Donkey Kong who just won't stop talking.
Or don't you remember, I'm gonna be the leader of Congo Bongo Island someday. The crystal coconut says so.
Coconut schmoconut.
But when these games transition, I think there's often that dilemma of choosing whether to make a game character talk or not. Unfortunately, in this case, it backfired.
I'm blown away, Candy.
And when Donkey Kong was able to talk, it just destroyed his character. The stories are about as coherent as a fever dream. The characters are at best bland and at worst incredibly irritating.
Bad news, DK. Looks like Cranky's all out of bananas.
Get this story. Donkey Kong and his menagerie of deformed clones try to keep control of the crystal coconut.
And instead of sitting around waiting for the crystal coconut's prophecy to come true,
some Deus Ex Machina that can conveniently do whatever the plot demands. I mean, it's so ridiculous, it does give you a chuckle every so often. But it's more a chuckle because it's so bad and cheesy. We get all sorts of weird episodes, like Bad Hair Day, where Candy Kong gets kidnapped and King K. Rool makes a robot version of her to trick DK to give her the crystal coconut.
You don't know your own strength, Donkey Kong. We'll have to fix that.
Like something like The Rune. It's a show that's fun to watch with a friend because you're both marveling and laughing at what a train wreck it is. But I myself wouldn't watch it alone. And the third best video game cartoon is
Psst, what are you looking at?
Overwatch, the animated shorts. A while ago, Blizzard released several CG animated shorts to help promote their game, Overwatch. Not many people in the cartoon community talk about them. I guess they fall more into the gaming category. Let's talk about them anyway. Interestingly, the Overwatch's animated shorts are canon, taking place in the same continuity as the video game. They actually really contribute to the story, allowing people like me who don't play the games to still enjoy the shorts and learn about the characters.
We barely won last time.
However, with a video game, the story is instead hinted at through environments and character quips. Blizzard gives these shorts a real cinematic tilt. The music as well is really grandiose and really helps you get into the action of the shorts. Hell, the episode The Last Bastion won an award. It's a shame there isn't more of these available, as the few there are really left me wanting to see more of these stories and characters. I'd love to see Netflix give a full animated series to something like this.
Trying to crush another party, love?
And the second worst video game cartoon is Megaman Fully Charged. Ah, what a waste. This could have actually been fun. I don't know if it could have been revolutionary, but a Mega Man cartoon at least has a potential to be interesting. I still remember that one from the 90s. The team for this actually looks pretty promising. We have Man of Action, the creators of Ben 10 and Generator Rex. But I guess even the most talented individuals can inadvertently make a few flops. Or in this case, more a careening train wreck explosion.
Mega Mini! Mega Mini!
Don't I have a loose circuit board or something for you to fix?
The series follows Arky Light, aka Mega Man, but now he's a schoolboy. I guess the executives thought Mega Boy sounded off somehow. Unfortunately, Mega Boy and all the other characters come off as really bland and uninteresting. Even the colorful robot bosses from the original games have no real incentive to exist. I mean, in one episode, Fireman comes down to burn the school, despite having absolutely no reason to even be there to do so. But the most annoying character of all is Mega Mini, one of those wonderful side characters that just never stops talking, the plot bending to his will in order for him to give us incredibly bad jokes.
Fireman? Where's your hoses? Where's your truck? Where's your spotted dog?
And these CGI models just look like something out of a Happy Meal toy box. I mean, just look at Mega Man here. He looks like something out of some third-party rejected Nintendo 3DS junk pile. And for some reason it feels this constant need to transition from CGI to pixel art. Because, well, I guess pixelated equals stylish and edgy? The dialogue's cheesy, the fights are a bore. I guess there's nothing harmful in it for occupying younger viewers, but almost everything on Cartoon Network is far superior quality to this. And the second best video game cartoon is Earthworm Jim, the soil he did crawl. Earthworm Jim, a super suit did fall. Ah, good old Earthworm Jim. It was based off the SNES/Genesis game, and it was really memorable. I still remember that intro. How did something like an earthworm get a cartoon? Well, never will you see an earthworm get so much personality.
You know what this means, Fuzz Buddy?
Yes. Road trip!
It probably helps that he's voiced by the talented Dan Castellaneta, aka Homer Simpson. We also get Jim Cummings, the voice of everything awesome.
Release the toilet paper!
We also get a character named Peter Puppy, who becomes Jim's sidekick and friend.
You think I'm getting fat, don't you? Fat like a kettle drum.
Get off my back, dog boy!
And Princess What's-Her-Name, his love interest. No, that's not just me being lazy, that's really her name. We get tons of the memorable villains from the first two games appearing in the show too. Most of the episodes involve villains trying to steal Jim's supersuit. Other times, the villains will just try to rule, destroy, or freeze the universe and cause general mayhem throughout the galaxy. But I like these short side stories we get, generally featuring one of the villains doing a more natural part of their lives. It's like when Mojo Jojo goes to get his eggs. It's just fun seeing the bad guys be normal for once. Psychro goes through a career change, Professor Monkey for a Head attends group therapy. It's very tongue-in-cheek and refreshing. And of course, at the end of every episode, Jim, or any other character, will be crushed by a cow.
You fools, I shall destroy you all, starting with the lactose intolerant.
Earthworm Jim's a good fun ride, and a fantastic adaptation. I definitely recommend it. And before we get to number one, just a couple of quick honorable mentions. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. The show was weak, but it actually had a pretty decent overarching story about Pac-Man finding his parents. And the animation was very colorful and vivid as well. Overall, I thought it was okay. Team Fortress 2, meet them all. A bit like Overwatch's cinematic shorts, this was a great way to introduce characters to new players, or people just interested in the franchise. The series consists of short videos on individual characters, displaying their rather vivid personalities and unique tactics. Pokemon. And yeah, in case you're wondering, the game did come before the anime. You can actually tell from the start of the first episode. This does deserve its own spot because Pokemon is freaking huge. It's the longest running video game cartoon in the world, but I tend to think most people have set their opinion on whether they like Pokemon or not, so I decided to give it a skip. If you're curious of my general opinion on the series, check out my best and worst Pokemon movies video I did with Robin, if you're curious. Sonic Boom. Man, some of the dialogue and writing on this series is really sharp. This is definitely one of the best reiterations we've ever gotten of Sonic, and while it can be clunky at times, in my opinion, it's a series that's gotten better and better. Anyway, on to the number ones. And without a doubt, the number one worst video game cartoon is Captain N,
the Game Master.
There are many other bad Nintendo video game cartoons out there, but none are as infamous as the Game Master. I mean, I can Google bad Nintendo cartoons and it is literally the first result that comes up on Wikipedia. It's basically just a long glorified advertisement for a Nintendo console. I mean, just listen to this stellar world's name.
Oh, you're in Videoland.
You get it? The clever part is, it's called Videoland because it's a land from a video game. We even host the Video Olympics. I think I would have been happier not ever knowing that the title Video Olympics ever existed in the vocabulary of man. Captain N's characters are shallow, the animation's some of the laziest you will ever see. If I didn't recognize these characters from the video games, they'd probably look like distorted blurs to my head. But during my craze when I was 6, I could actually have seen myself watching this lazy cartoon white noise. We even get the chance in one episode to celebrate Megaman's birthday. Oh, hooray!
I can't tell you that, Kid Icarus. If I do, it won't come true.
How about opening your presents, Megaman?
But Videoland is always under attack by various Nintendo antagonists. The most ugly, cheesy Nintendo antagonists you could ever ask for.
Just like a fatal blow at the heart of Videoland.
I'm gonna guess this is probably not what you expected Mother Brain to look or sound like. They shovel so much merchandise at you that you'll be hallucinating D-pads for the next 2 days. What is there to say about the animation? Just look at it for yourself. It's lazy, haphazard, and just corporate washed out plastic junk. Captain N was some of the worst of the glorified advertisement era. Insert popular product here and make a cartoon. They even introduce Game Boy as a character. A literal talking Game Boy.
I am called Game Boy. I am programmed to play games.
The originality bar here is just going so low. I don't think we can cram it to the floor any lower. I guess the novelty of seeing this exists means it serves a purpose in cartoon history, but it really doesn't do much. The only thing Captain N gives to the world is the strong lesson of how definitely not to do a video game cartoon.
The Game Master.
And I think the number one best video game cartoon is Castlevania. Just a heads up, this one isn't for younger viewers. Brutal, dark, and one of the best Netflix adult cartoons out right now.
What have you done?
At first, we get to see Dracula fall in love, but then his wife is burned at the stake after being accused of witchcraft. So the vampire Dracula commits genocide on all the villagers of Wallachia. Castlevania is a sign that video game cartoons can't just be good, they can be incredible epics. Much like the game, Trevor, the last of his family, takes up arms against Dracula's army of demons and monsters. There's a hint of the original game series in the show, but it's not so overpowering that it destroys the story. The animation is violent and gory, but artistic, and is the perfect example of transforming a game into something all of its own. Organized religion certainly isn't a hero for this series.
You people simply decided we were wrong to defend this land against the supernatural, and now...
You Belmonts have never understood the power of the Word of God!
But underlying it all, we can see how much damage the selfishness and cruelty and single-mindedness of the church has done to all the innocent people, and how many lives it's cost.
The people of this city are mine, and our lords now.
Though not for everyone, Castlevania is among the best video game cartoons I've ever seen. Much like animation, video games have always had this way of reaching me on a deeper emotional level, and so often they've brought me some familiarity and comfort when I really needed it. So for me, even if some of these game cartoons are bad, a part of me is just happy to see these characters I like getting some time in the cartoon spotlight. Besides, if Castlevania is any sign, these game cartoon crossovers are not being treated as some joke cash-in anymore, and I think the future for them looks pretty bright. And if you think I missed any particularly good or bad video game cartoons, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Another interesting game cartoon that popped up on Netflix was Minecraft Story Mode. They basically took the game and turned it into a choose-your-own-adventure you can play with your remote. I hope they keep making these sort of multiple-choice shows, as I really enjoyed all 5 episodes.